Imagine being 14 years old, standing on a Hollywood film set, and suddenly finding yourself face to face with one of the most powerful women in cinema history. A woman so commanding, so fiercely magnetic, that even seasoned directors lowered their voices when she walked into the room. Now imagine that same woman leaning down, looking you straight in the eyes, and saying something that would quietly reshape the entire course of your life. That's exactly what happened to Hayley Mills. And for nearly 6 decades, she kept most of it to herself. But now, at 79 years old, Hayley Mills is finally ready to talk. What she has revealed about her time working alongside the legendary Maureen is more moving, more surprising, and more honest than anyone expected. And once you hear it, you'll never watch The Parent Trap quite the same way again. Before we go any further, if you love stories about old Hollywood, legendary actresses, and the hidden bonds that shaped cinema history, please hit that like button right now, subscribe so you never miss a story like this one, share this video with someone who grew up loving these classic films, and drop a comment below telling us your favorite Hayley Mills movie. Your support genuinely helps us keep bringing these stories to life. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Hayley Mills was not someone who stumbled into stardom by accident. She was practically born into it. On April 18, 1946, she arrived into one of Britain's most celebrated theatrical families. Her father, Sir John Mills, was a towering figure in British cinema, known for emotionally gripping performances in films that defined a generation. Her mother, Mary Hayley Bell, channeled her own creativity into writing, becoming an accomplished playwright and novelist. Growing up in that household meant that storytelling wasn't just entertainment, it was the air they breathed. By the time Hayley made her screen debut at just 12 years old in the 1959 British crime drama Tiger Bay, appearing opposite her own father, the world took immediate notice. Critics were stunned by the emotional authenticity she brought to the role. There was something in her eyes, a naturalness, an intelligence, that couldn't be manufactured or taught. Walt Disney himself reportedly saw the film and recognized instantly that this young girl was something extraordinarily rare. Disney signed her, and what followed was nothing short of a cultural phenomenon. Her first Disney film, Pollyanna in 1960, turned Hayley Mills into a global household name almost overnight. She played an irrepressibly optimistic orphan whose warmth melted even the coldest of hearts, and her performance earned her the Academy Juvenile Award, making her one of the youngest recipients in the history of that honor. Audiences weren't just entertained, they were genuinely moved. Then came The Parent Trap in 1961, and everything shifted to an entirely new level. The premise was ambitious for its time. Hayley would play not one, but 2 identical twin sisters, Sharon and Susan, separated at birth by divorcing parents and reunited years later at a summer camp. The technical challenges alone were remarkable. The split-screen sequences required meticulous coordination, but what made the film truly magical was Hayley's ability to make each twin feel like a completely distinct, fully realized human being. The comedy was sharp, the emotion was genuine, and the film became one of the most beloved family movies ever produced. But here's what most people don't know about the making of that film. Cast as the twins' glamorous mother was Maureen, an Irish actress who had already cemented her place among Hollywood's immortals. By 1961, O'Hara had starred in How Green Was My Valley, Miracle on 34th Street, and The Quiet Man alongside John Wayne, with whom she had an iconic on-screen partnership. She was fierce, breathtaking, and absolutely unapologetic about who she was. And 14-year-old Hayley Mills was about to meet her for the first time. By Hayley's own account, the experience was simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. O'Hara was not the sort of woman who softened the edges of a room to make newcomers comfortable. She carried with her a lifetime of hard-won authority, the kind earned by a woman who had fought relentlessly in a Hollywood system that consistently underestimated, underpaid, and undervalued its female talent. She had survived that world not by playing polite, but by being undeniably, impossibly excellent. Walking onto that set as a teenage girl, even one as talented as Hayley Mills, must have felt like walking into a force of nature. What Hayley has shared in recent years paints a picture far more nuanced and tender than the public ever imagined. Yes, O'Hara was demanding. Yes, she held everyone around her to an exacting standard. She had no patience for laziness or half-hearted effort, regardless of how young or inexperienced the person in front of her might be. But Hayley has been clear that O'Hara's high expectations were never cruel, they were a form of profound respect. O'Hara treated the young actress as a serious professional, not a child novelty. And in an industry that was all too eager to patronize and diminish young female performers, that was a remarkable gift. Between takes, O'Hara would pull Hayley aside and talk to her, not just about blocking or character motivation, but about life. About identity. About the particular dangers that awaited a young woman whose face the whole world already knew. One piece of advice that Hayley has returned to again and again across the decades was this: know who you are before the world decides for you. Simple words. But for a teenage girl standing at the very center of the global spotlight, they were a lifeline. What surprises people most when Hayley talks about Maureen O'Hara is how much she emphasizes her humor. The public image of O'Hara was one of regal intensity, a woman of flashing eyes and iron resolve. And that was certainly real. But Hayley describes a woman who could also bring an entire film crew to tears of laughter with a single perfectly timed story about her early days in Ireland or an outrageous anecdote from one of her many adventures filming on location with John Wayne. There was a twinkle behind the seriousness, a mischievous warmth that O'Hara reserved for the people she trusted and respected. The fact that she extended that warmth to young Hayley speaks volumes about what she saw in her. The two women developed a quiet, genuine friendship during production, not a loud or demonstrative one, because O'Hara was intensely private off-camera. She didn't engage in gossip. She didn't play Hollywood games. But she showed up for the people she cared about in consistent, meaningful ways. A reassuring smile before a difficult scene. A steady hand on a young shoulder. A few quiet words that said, without saying, "I believe in you." Hayley has spoken about how watching Maureen O'Hara work was an education that no acting school could have provided. Every physical choice O'Hara made on screen, the angle of her chin, the precise economy of a glance, carried intention and meaning. She never wasted a moment. She never coasted on her beauty or her fame. She worked, fully and completely, every single time. That example lodged itself deep in Hayley's consciousness and quietly shaped her own professional ethos across the decades that followed. Through her transition from Disney's Golden Girl into more complex adult roles in films like The Family Way, through her stage work, her television appearances, and her continued advocacy for young performers navigating the unique pressures of childhood fame, O'Hara's influence was always there, beneath the surface. Hayley has also spoken honestly about the loss she felt when Maureen O'Hara passed away in October 2015 at the age of 95. It wasn't simply the passing of a colleague or even a friend. It felt like watching a specific kind of grace leave the world, a quality of dignity and strength that belonged to a particular era of Hollywood and would not come again. T79, Hayley Mills has lived a life as rich and layered as any character she ever played on screen. She has known great love and its complications, creative triumph and its pressures, the dizzying heights of childhood stardom and the quieter, more sustaining satisfactions of a life built on genuine craft and human connection. But when she looks back across all of it, she keeps returning to a young girl on a sunlit Hollywood set, watching a magnificent Irish woman move through the world with absolute conviction, and learning, wordlessly, what it truly meant to stand in your own power. Maureen O'Hara never needed to announce her strength. She simply lived it. And in doing so, she handed something irreplaceable to the young woman standing beside her. That kind of influence doesn't fade. It compounds quietly across a lifetime, shaping everything it touches. And now, finally, Hayley Mills has made sure the world knows it too. If this story moved you the way it moved us, please give it a like. It genuinely helps more people discover stories like this one. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a piece of Hollywood history worth remembering. Share this video with someone who loves classic cinema. And leave us a comment below. What do you think is Maureen O'Hara's greatest performance, and why? We read every single comment. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.